Hey everybody, we are live. I'm Jeff with eBay Addicts, and today I got a brand new guest for you guys. I have Checkmate Flips is here. How are you doing?
Doing great. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. You having a good weekend so far?
It's been great. Yeah, it's been good.
All right, cool. So go ahead real quick, just in case the audience doesn't know who you are. Go ahead and introduce yourself. You can tell everybody in the audience who you are, where you're from, and tell them a little bit about what it is that you do.
So I am from Colorado, and I've been selling online for around 2.5 years. I started out on an app called Depop, and I transitioned from there to sell on eBay. I did that for probably around a year, and then since then I've been doing both eBay and Amazon.
All right, cool. And so you live like in Denver, Colorado area, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I messaged you the other day, and you said that you just moved recently. How's that been going?
It's been great. Like it's been busy, but literally on Monday we moved. So it's, for a couple of days it was the thing where like, okay, so we need to get food. We need like all these random things you take for granted, and it's just like, we don't know where these things are.
Yeah, moving can be a big. I was going to say a big pain in the butt, but it's a big chore, especially when you get moved into your new place and all your stuff still in boxes, and
Yeah.
you have no idea like what boxes went where because you were in a hurry.
Yeah.
So it's like you're sourcing in your house basically.
I actually sourced the previous apartment before we left. I'm like, are there any books that we don't need?
All right, cool. So tell everybody a little bit about your backstory of how you got started into reselling. I was watching some of your YouTube videos. Go ahead and tell everybody a little bit in your own words of how you got started into reselling, so they know a little bit about your history and your backstory.
I guess I'll go pretty far back. So I resold in a video game called RuneScape, and I bought and sold items, and I made money on that game. And I did that for a really long time. I think a couple times I wanted to try it in real life. I tried it on Craigslist. I tried buying, selling like snowboarding gear. And like, I think I broke even a couple times, but I was doing it on Craigslist and like paying too much for stuff, and like didn't really have people who like I wasn't on YouTube like trying to learn about it. Like I kind of just like tried it, and it didn't work very well. So eventually my brother, this was in 2019, he gets back from college. He's 4 years younger than me. He comes back from, I think for like Mother's Day or something. And he's like, I've been selling on Depop. I've been making like $600 a month. And like at that point I was a student, and like an extra $600 a month would be sweet. And like, that's something that I've been wanting to do for a while. So we went out to the thrift store. He sold used clothing and showed me the ropes and the basics of it. Kind of started from there.
Right. Okay. So you guys went to the thrift stores. You started looking for stuff to resell, and then tell us what happened. Then I was watching her video. Found that you took a course from Romer the Romer. He's one of my previous guests that I've had on. I don't know if you know or not, but I've had him on as a previous guest. I met him in Orlando in person about 2 months ago. So he seems like a nice guy. Yeah. He's a nice guy. He's got a lot of energy. So go ahead.
Yeah. So a lot happened in between then and me taking his course, but let's see. So for quite a while, I sold only clothes, and then I did some necklaces from like AliExpress onto Depop. But then like several months later, I went onto eBay, started like really ramping it up, trying to like list as many clothing items as I could that were profitable, shoes as well. And in 2020, all the things in the world happened, and I finished my I was in my internship. I was studying to be a counselor, and we had to like shut down for a while. And I was selling on eBay part-time on the side anyway. So I'm like, shoot, well, I'm going to try to go full-time with this. And it was a bunch of fun. Like I was so much happier afterwards. I'm trying to just tell the story concisely, but basically I was selling on eBay, and then like several months later, that I think November, I took Avery's course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and how did that go?
It went really well. I started Amazon with the thought of, okay, I'm just going to make another like $200-300 a week. Like I'm just going to go to garage sales. This will just be a side hustle to my eBay. And like it was working. It was really easy to find inventory. I was doing mostly books. But then Avery's course helped me like build the background and really like speed up my process of understanding Amazon.
Right. So basically what he's saying, I haven't taken the course, so I can't give you my opinion, but basically what he's saying is on eBay, you can look at your sold comps. On Amazon, they have a thing like where you can track and look at your sales rank. Like, so when you scan a book, you have an idea and you're like, okay, this is my cost of goods. This is the sales rank of this item. This is, you know, how much the Amazon fees are going to be. And then down here at the bottom is like how much you're going to make profit per book. So from what I saw on your YouTube channel, you were trying to grow and scale your book business. And then you got to a certain point where you were making decent money on Amazon. And then all of a sudden we had these restock limits coming, right?
Those stinking restock limits. Yeah.
Right.
That was a bummer. Very hard for booksellers at that point. Basically, so for those of people who don't know what the restock limits are, before May of this year, on Amazon, there wasn't really much of a limit on how many items you could send into Amazon. So the name of the game for booksellers was to literally list as many books that were profitable as possible. And like, even with a 20-30% sell-through rate per month, you could still make like really good money selling books. I think it's still possible to. So basically what these restock limits did is Amazon started rewarding sellers who sell things faster and kind of slowing down sellers who don't sell things as fast. So books is probably one of the slowest categories. So they put like, for me, it was like a 1,600 book limit at the time, limit on me. And it was different for different sellers. So I kind of had to adjust to that.
Yeah, and so the thing is, you were planning on growing and scaling your business to get like 5,000 items shipped into Amazon FBA's warehouse. Yep. Because once you have it shipped in, they do all the other portion of it as far as pulling your orders, packing them, shipping them, storing them, and all that. And then all of a sudden, when they gave you the restock limits, you kind of had to change your reselling strategy a little bit. So, kind of, what did you kind of jump towards then after that happened? Because you kind of get to do a little bit more like retail arbitrage. Like, what were you kind of doing after that point?
Well, like I love the Amazon FBA model. So basically, for those who don't know, it's basically you send it into Amazon. There's a little bit of extra fees, but once you send it into Amazon, they do all the customer service. When it sells, it ships out immediately. You don't have to touch it anymore. So basically, like when the restock limits happened, I was at 2,800 out of 1,600, so I couldn't send in any more inventory. I think I sat for like a week trying to think of like what business model I wanted to transition to. I could merge fulfill books, but I wasn't really interested in that. I could do retail arbitrage. I think there were a couple other ones I was considering, but I ended up doing retail arbitrage.
All right, cool. Yeah, and so how has that been going for you?
It's been going well. I've transitioned since then to online arbitrage now, though.
All right, awesome. So we have a quick question in the chat from Hollywood Reseller. He wants to know what platforms you currently sell on.
I sell on very little bit on Depop, a little bit on eBay, and then most of it is Amazon.
All right, and so I wanted to ask you a question real quick. You know, in your YouTube video that I was watching, you said that you used to work like as a referee. So I just wanted to kind of give people a little bit of your backstory, because whatever 9-to-5 job, whatever career field they're in, like I used to be a forklift driver. So it's like, you know, we had Anthony on the other day, and he used to work at a bank. So I just wanted to kind of get into your backstory about like what your job was before you left your 9-to-5 corporate job and became a full-time reseller. So do you mind talking about that real quick?
Yeah. So I went to college, and I was going to college to be a youth pastor. I'm a Christian, so I wanted to be a youth pastor. And I was studying that. I did my internship, and I realized I just don't like this. This isn't a good fit for me. So I finished that degree, and I decided I wanted to be a counselor, like a psychologist. So I was getting my master's directly after college. And it was like through this time that I was refereeing soccer. I think I drove for Lyft for a while. It's sometimes kind of hard to find jobs that are part-time while you're a student that like actually pay good hourly. Because like I feel like people usually want a full-time person in with them. So refereeing was a good fit for that. But I really wish I was doing reselling, because like I know college students who are making like amazing money, and they're like full-time students, and they sell on Amazon. And then basically I was in the internship in that master's program when all the things in the world started happening, and I quote unquote dropped out of my master's program and did selling full-time.
Really? So what kind of made you make the leap where you're like, all right, I think I'm going to leave my master's program and leave this referee gig and become a full-time reseller? Like, was it after you took Romer to Romer's course and you started learning and seeing how much profit margin you could make reselling on eBay and Amazon? Or at what point were you just like, you know what, this is what I really, really, really want to do, is become a full-time reseller?
I actually wasn't even selling on Amazon at the point where I decided to go full-time. I was selling on eBay. I was selling on eBay part-time. I would go to my internship, and I'd be listing on the weekends and like at night and stuff on eBay. And like I basically had to take a pause from my internship because of everything. And so I'm like, well, I have goodness knows how long, like it might be a month, it might be a couple months where I'm not going to be in my internship, you know? So like, it was like, I had a trial period, which is like amazing. Like I'm almost like, I'm kind of happy. Like, I'm not happy that everything happened, but like, it really worked out. Cause like, I don't know if I would have had like the push to like, be like, oh, I need to do this full time. Cause I had a trial period, basically.
Yeah.
And
so you, what, during the trial period, you just was like, oh, this isn't for me, I'm not doing it anymore?
No, the trial period was, like I didn't have to do internship for a couple months. Like I had no school responsibilities for like several months. So I'm like, I'm just going to see how full-time selling is going to be.
Yeah.
And I did it. And within like very quickly, I'm like, I really like this so much more than like the psychology space for me.
All right, cool. I'm going to give a shout out to some people in the chat because it ain't Saturday, and I appreciate everybody in the chat for coming by and hanging out, and even the people that are in the background that are lurking that aren't commenting. So I wanted to give a shout out to the Hollywood Reseller. I wanted to give a shout out to the ATL Flippers are here. I hope your leg is feeling better, Derek. And I wanted to say hey to the Fba Resellers are here. The ATL Flipper says that's dope. I went to Bible college as well. And the Fba Reseller says we are amassing huge amounts of credit card points as a motivator to start Amazon. We hear it's a great business to get into for that. We love credit card hacking for travel and stuff. So, hey, can you talk a little bit about your experience with selling on Amazon? And if somebody hasn't got started, what would you tell them to do? Or why would they should get started selling on Amazon? Go ahead.
Real quick, I'll talk about that question too, about the credit card points. It never was like a motivator to get into it, but like once I got into it, like you can do a lot with the credit card points. I'm still learning about that more and more, but with online arbitrage and retail arbitrage, for example, like it's pretty normal to spend like over $1,000 a week on inventory. A lot of people spend more than that. So you can really do really well with credit card points. Like this week I've spent like over 3,000 on inventory. So yeah, you definitely like work the credit card points with that. That's really helpful. But like about getting started with Amazon, what was the question? Sorry.
Yeah, I was talking about, if somebody hasn't started on Amazon, because I know you sell both on eBay and Amazon, but you primarily make the majority of the bulk of your sales on Amazon, correct?
Right.
So, like, what has been your sales on Amazon, let's say, in the past month or so, in the past 3 months since Q4? I'm just curious.
In the last 30 days, I guess I could look, but I think it's in the ballpark of like 20K in sales. So of course that's not profit. Like that's like people show you sales graphs on Amazon. That is not profit, but it's been 20K in sales in the last 30 days.
Okay, and so if somebody was interested and they're like, hey, maybe I'm only doing $1,000 or $2,000 a month on eBay, and they're like, hey, it seems like Amazon, to me, from my perspective, Amazon has a lot more buyers on the platform. But if you're doing the business model like what you do, sending stuff into Amazon FBA, out of that, let's say you made $20,000 in sales that month, you're paying more fees to Amazon, which may be, I don't know, 45% in fees. And then you're having to subtract your cost of goods, right? So you're started out here at 20, and let's say, I don't know, 40, let's say almost half of it is Amazon fees. Then let's say another 25-30% of that is your cost of goods. Then you're left down here at the bottom with with your profit margin. And then so go ahead and explain a little bit about what your business model was like, because you mentioned that you were doing online arbitrage as well as retail arbitrage. So talk a little bit about how your business model works, and explain a little bit more about how this process works in case somebody hasn't signed up on Amazon, and why they should go ahead and create an account and get started. Because when I messaged you last week, your first question to me was like, well, have you created an Amazon account? And if not, why not? Like, that was your very first question to me. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm the one asking the questions here. Go ahead.
I don't know. I'm not trying to be like, you need to start. Like, if it's like, I also was watching your videos, and it sounds like you have like over 6,000 active listings on eBay, right?
Yeah, I work my regular full-time job, which is delivering boxes for the courier company. I mean, just the other day I made like $700 in one day just delivering boxes. So that's like my primary source of income, is working as a courier. And then whenever I have free time, I usually clock into work like at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and do my courier gig. And then I'll do that from midnight till maybe 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning. And then I sleep during the day. And then the afternoon, right around 4 o'clock, that's when I get up, shoot YouTube videos, pull eBay orders, ship out items, and this is kind of my time when I can kind of grow and scale, reselling and shoot YouTube videos and stuff like that. But yeah, I have 6,000 items. My plan is to grow to 10,000 on eBay, because I'm not paying as many fees as I would on Amazon. And I got a big shed and a big 5-car garage to store all my merchandise. So I don't have to worry about restock limits and paying storage fees and all that. But go ahead and talk a little bit more about Amazon, because that's your primary source of income. I mean, that's how you pay your bills.
Right. So just an interesting thing to think about whenever you see Amazon sales, or like hear about Amazon sales, like he was saying, there are a lot of fees on Amazon. So let's say someone did $10,000 in a month in sales. Usually after all the cost of goods, after the fees, like I pay for some softwares, usually sellers make anywhere between 10 and probably 30%. That's actually profit after all of those fees. So if you're a bookseller, like, you probably have higher margins. So it'll probably be closer to that 30%. If you do like wholesale, or like something where you're buying like huge in bulk and like smaller margins, like, it'll probably be closer to 10%. So that's something to keep in mind there. But with Amazon, what I do is, I used to do retail arbitrage, where you go to like stores and you go to Amazon, like not Amazon, but Walmart, like Walmart clearance. Sometimes I would thrift, sometimes I would do estate sales, and that's still a really good way to make money. But I was having a problem spending all of my sourcing budget. So now I do online arbitrage, which is where I buy things from places like Nike, or I've even been doing eBay recently. I've been buying from eBay and then reselling back onto Amazon. And so what I do, and this is in the last month, I've been using a prep center. So basically I buy the things online and then I have it sent directly to the prep center. So most of my items these days, I'm not even touching. Like, I don't even see the item. I just pay for it to get listed.
All right. Yeah. Continue. I just think it's interesting business model and really fascinating because you're saying, yeah, all of it's not profit. You may only make between 10 to 25% profit, and I believe you because a couple months ago when I had that meetup with a bunch of Amazon sellers, I got to meet up with Amazon Lit in person, and he was telling me about how many millions of dollars they were making in gross sales a year. And he's like, yeah, he's like, we may only make 15% of that in profit. But when you looked at how many, how many sales they were making through pure profit, through pure volume of sending in thousands and thousands and thousands of items, even if he was only making a small percentage of 15% profit margins on his sales, he was still out here killing it. I mean, because, there was just him and his business partner.
Amazon Lit is like an amazing seller. Like I watch his videos and I get to like the first tip and I'm like, shoot, well, I better do that. Like 2 days later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazon's interesting because like the sales are so high. And like, but yet with all those fees, like you always factor in that like you're going to make a profit after all those fees. Like you don't need to like think about like, oh, there's a lot of fees on Amazon. You look at like the net after all those fees. So
yeah. All right, cool. I'm going to catch some questions in the chat real quick. Hollywood Reseller says, what type of items do you like and hate to sell? Don says, where do you find all your energy? Don, I'll tell you the truth, man. I'm 38 years old. I'm almost 40. So I don't have as much energy as these 22, 23, 24, 25-year-old kids. So a lot of times, this is what I take, this Monster Energy drink, just to get me up and off my butt and get motivated. And I find like usually 9 times out of 10, once you get moving, once you put your socks and shoes on, once you get up and out of bed and you get on the road and you get moving, you're like, 9/10 of it is just you showing up and putting the energy and putting the effort in there. Once you press the button and hit record, once you are up and you're starting to crank out eBay listings, the rest of it's kind of on autopilot. It's easier to do. I'm going to give a shout out here real quick to Zach, Utah Bought and Gone, says, yeah, that's true. I sell books and make about 20% after everything. And I want to give a shout out real quick to Agnostic Thetis. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Yeah, I hope I mispronounced your name correctly. A Hollywood Reseller says, what type of items do you hate to sell? So go ahead and touch on that real quick as far as your reselling business goes.
For me right now, what I'm doing is the prep center that I'm using, there's some pros and cons to it. So it's pretty expensive per item as far as prep centers go, but the software that it uses is really easy to use and they will list used items for me. And they also don't have limits on how many items I have to send in per month. So therefore, because of that, I'm trying to not do the listing myself. I don't send in like the little like $2 profit items because like that just doesn't work for me.
Really?
I guess I could use another prep center, but I'm not there yet. So I really do like the like $10 plus profit items for my business model.
All right, now cool. Now I got a bunch of questions for you that you don't know about. Usually I have a whole notebook of questions. So talk to me a little bit about your software that you use to help you with your Amazon business. What are some software that you use or that you recommend that people use? Maybe scanning software. Talk to me maybe software as far as maybe to use inventory labs to help list items. Go ahead and talk to me about the software that you use.
So it kind of depends on whether you're doing books or whether you're doing retail and online arbitrage. So if you're doing books, Scout IQ is like basically a must. Like you can do it without Scout IQ. You can just use the Amazon Seller app. But if you're trying to do a lot of books, Scout IQ is really helpful. So Scout IQ, you literally just scan the barcode and you have your buy cost already inputted into that app. And it'll just automatically say yes, no, like keep this, send this in, etc. And you can like blow through lots of books that way. Because with books, you really need to like find those 1 to 10% of the books that are actually going to be profitable because most of them are garbage.
All right.
So that's one. A lot of booksellers use AccelerList. That's a really good one for listing books. So basically, if you list through Amazon Seller Central, It takes a long time. It takes like 2 to 3 minutes per book. And with books, a lot of your books are going to be like $3-4 profits, so you don't want to be spending that long. With AccelerList, it could take like anywhere between 30 seconds and like a minute per book. Inventory Labs is more of a like RA/OA, but you can do books with that as well. So I use Inventory Labs. Inventory Labs, it runs as a bookkeeping software as well. So once you list your stuff through Inventory Labs, it also like keeps track of all your sales and like returns and like cost of goods. I wish I had used Inventory Labs sooner.
Okay, cool. And you said earlier that you try to look for at least items where you're making $10 profit margins. So if you're out doing retail arbitrage, what is the actual typical profit margins that you look for, like your return, your ROI, return on investment? And what do you advise people if they say, hey, I'm gated in everything that I pick up, everything I scan, I'm gated in it?
Yeah. So I haven't done retail arbitrage in a couple months at this point. I guess my answer on that isn't as helpful. But when I did do retail arbitrage, I would have like several items that I was looking for. Like for example, there were some car speakers that were really profitable for a while, and I would find them every couple stores, and those would be really profitable if I found them. In the clearance section, it depends a lot, because like if you look at the Keepa chart, Keepa is another tool for Amazon, which is really helpful. If you look and see like, okay, there's lots of sellers that in the last like couple weeks have come onto this listing, you can kind of see, okay, well, this item is probably available in every Walmart in the country. So you really want to like try and negate that risk a little bit more with a bigger ROI.
Okay, we got a quick question in the chat. Says from eBliss, thanks you guys for hanging out with us today. Says, what type of items do you sell on eBay because Amazon won't accept them?
That's a good question. I guess that kind of relates to the previous question, because when you start out on Amazon, a lot of the things are gated. So like, for example, if you have a brand new seller account and like I don't know, what's a good example of this? Well, an example for me is like if I'm at an estate sale and I find like a Brother printer or something like that. I'm gated in Brother. I think a lot of people are gated in that brand. So if it's profitable, I would sell it on eBay instead, and potentially use your service because you guys fulfill for eBay sellers.
All right, I want to take a break from Amazon real quick. I saw one of your videos I watched. I think it might have been yesterday or today, and you were talking a lot about having the proper mindset, and you were saying that a lot of people either don't get started with reselling or don't start doing something because they have this like mental block. Because you can have all the information in front of you. Like on my channel, I try to bring you guys new guests so you can hear people's information and hear their blueprint and their business model, the way they do things. But if you're not motivated or you don't have the proper mindset, it's not worth a hill of beans. It's not going to help you until you actually take action. So can you touch on that real quick, a little bit about what the proper mindset or mentality that you have to be a full-time entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think it's hard because like information is out there, but it still takes like skill in order to be able to execute on it. And learning skills it's really difficult. And like when I learn something new, like I'm not going to be good at it from the first, like immediately. And like, it's kind of unreasonable to think that we're going to be good at it immediately, but like people feel like they need to be good at it immediately. So it's kind of like being okay with like being mediocre at something for a while. Cause like a lot of people, like they want to sell on Amazon, but it's just like, it's going to be really hard for them because they don't understand every single little thing. And they're going to have to learn how to use Inventory Labs. They're going to have to learn how to use Scout IQ. They're going to have to learn how to use Keepa. They're going to have to learn how to make a shipment. And like, there are easier ways to sell things to like get your foot in the door. You can sell on Facebook Marketplace. You can sell on Depop. You can sell on eBay. You can do all those things. So, but like those things might not be like the Lamborghini life that you feel like you see on Amazon with people getting like 30K in sales a day. Like it's just a process, and you have to be okay with like being decent at something for a while.
Yeah, I apologize. I was having technical difficulties. But yeah, you were just talking about how when some people get started, you know, they look at, okay, well, how much money am I making per hour? And it's like, okay, you know, you just got started at something. It's like when I was working at my corporate job, it took me like 10 years to get to where I was like really, really, really great at doing my job. I did it every day for 10, 12 hours a day for 10 years. So when you get started on something total brand new, whether you're starting a YouTube channel from scratch, whether you're starting your eBay store, Amazon business, like don't expect in 60 or 90 days, you're going to just walk in and all of a sudden all the stars are going to align perfectly and you're going to be like the best at what you do. Like that's the way I look at it as a long-term perspective. Like, okay, I got hired as a new hire in 2006 and it took me from 2006 to 2016. It took me 10 years of working my butt off to get really, really good at this. So when you're jumping into a new career field, whether you're a reseller or YouTuber, whatever it is, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. And I wish people just like, that's why when people ask me like, should I quit my job and become a full-time reseller? Usually 9 times out of 10, I'm like, no, dude, keep your job. You have health insurance, you have benefits, you know, you have job security, and use your extra capital from your side income for reselling and use it to pay off your credit card or student loans or, you know, car payments or whatever you have. Because not everybody is built to be a full-time reseller. Not everybody is built to be an entrepreneur. You don't have that structure of someone telling you, clock in at 9 o'clock. Your lunch is at noon. You know, you go home at 5 o'clock. You know, you don't have that structure of somebody like whispering in your ear, okay, you know, your 10-minute break is over with. Go back to work. You know, you don't have that structure. So, it may not be for everybody, but for you, it seems to be working out. And if you don't have the proper like mental mindset for you, you're going to fail. There's no shortage of information on YouTube of people showing you, hey, this is how you go scan books. This is how you find items at yard sales. You could buy this item for $1 and sell it for 25 on eBay. But it's like you have to have the work ethic and you have to have the right motivation and mindset, or it's just not going to work for you because the information's out there. I could tell people all day long how to make money, but if they're not motivated to do it and I give them the information, it's not gonna go anywhere, you know?
Right.
It's like if you're trying to teach somebody how to drive a car, they can watch a video on it, but they actually have to go out and do it, you know?
Right. Yeah, like when I started with Depop, I was probably making under $10 an hour for like several months. Like I just had to be okay with it. I had to you got to learn like what to do. Like it's hard to ship for the first time. It's hard to like look up all the data in order to like actually buy things that are going to move. Like it just takes a while.
Yeah. And so when you were making a video and you were talking about like barrier to entry and why people don't get started. So what other things could you think of as like people's barrier to entry or reason why they don't take action? Because you were just talking about just in general, whether it was reselling or starting a YouTube channel or asking this girl out for a date at a restaurant or something. So what is like this barrier to entry that people have, like this fear of failure? You know, go ahead and talk about that real quick.
Yeah, kind of like what I was saying. Like it's hard to like look at yourself and be like, for the last 3 months, I've worked 40 hours a week and I've made $9 an hour. Like just sit with that for a second. Like imagine if like that's hard. Like
right.
Like that is not something that anyone really wants to like feel like mediocre or like below average at something. But like if you can face that fear and like actually get over the first couple months of being like kind of bad at something, like right now I work 25 hours a week and like I'm doing fine and I don't even touch most of my items, but like it has been a process. I'm still like not rich or anything, but like you just got to learn these skills and like got to be okay with being like decent at something for a while.
Yeah, man. And I think a lot of people, maybe they don't know what to do, or maybe they have this fear of failure. I'll tell you guys a quick story. Okay. this has nothing to do with reselling, but it's just a quick story. So me and my brother, one day, he wanted to go try out for the basketball team. He was in high school and he was scared to try out for the basketball team. So he didn't show up to basketball tryouts. So the next day, after I found out he didn't show up to basketball tryouts, after spending hundreds of hours shooting free throws, doing all these drills after school for shooting basketball, and he never showed up to basketball tryouts, me and my brother the next day went to go confront the gym teacher at the school who was he played college basketball for the University of Louisville back in the 80s, and they won the championship. So me and my brother, we went there, and I went to go confront this basketball coach for the high school. So we go down there the next day, and I go to talk to him, and I say, hey man, we were having a misunderstanding. Our brother was running late or whatever. He didn't get a chance to make it to the basketball tryouts. Is there a way we can reschedule it? Can maybe he play one-on-one with one of the other guys on the team? Is there a way you can make an exception so he can play on the basketball team? And so he came up to me, and he walked up to me, shook my hand. I introduced myself. We told him the story about what happened, and I told him, hey, he's good. He can help your team win. He can play these positions. He can play offense. He can play defense. He can rebound. He can shoot. I was trying to sell them on the idea of my brother playing on the basketball team. And he looked at me and he says, well, listen, man, let me tell you something. If you don't show up to the basketball tryouts, it's the same rules for everybody in this school. If you don't show up to the basketball tryouts, you're automatically cut from the basketball team. That's it. You're automatically cut. So it's like, if you don't actually try and you don't show up and put forth the energy and put forth the effort, like if you don't show up to the basketball tryouts, you're already cut from the team, right? So you just have to have that same mentality. It's like, okay, if you see this girl at the restaurant and you want to go ask her for a number, if you don't go ask her for your number, you've already been cut from the basketball team. Like you already been rejected by not asking. So I don't know if this makes sense. It doesn't necessarily pertain to reselling, just life in general. If you guys don't get out of your comfort zone and you don't try new things and you don't take risks, you're going to look back 10 years, 20 years later, and have regrets. Like, man, what if I would have went to the basketball tryouts in 2002 or something? What if I would have asked this girl to the prom, at our high school dance? How would things turn out differently? Like, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone a little bit. And if you don't take risks, you don't do things kind of out of your comfort zone, you're already going to be cut from the basketball team. So you just have to look at it as you already failed, but therefore by not trying, so right. You guys are going to have to do that. And, not like take, I'm not saying do risky things, but take calculated risks. There's calculated risk out here that you can take and profit and learn as you go. So I'm not trying to preach, guys. It was just a story that came to my mind. Let's catch questions in the chat. Hollywood Reseller says, do you ever burn out? If yes, what do you do to get back on track?
Yeah, so I used to work almost all the time, and that was a problem because there are other things in life besides work and selling. So since then, I think I had I don't remember exactly the situation, but I've been really trying to keep myself to max of 45 hours a week of work. And recently it's been more like 40 total between social media and selling. I keep a clock in and clock out sheet, and I keep track of okay, I've worked 38 hours this week. I need to take a day off or not work as much for the rest of the week. Another thing is keeping in touch with my friends and my wife and spending good quality time with them. I have some hobbies. My name is Checkmate Flips. I love to play bullet chess. I love turning on loud music and playing chess where you literally have a minute on the clock for the entire game and your opponent does too. You either checkmate them or they run out of time or you run out of time. So that just helps me get in the zone and just I don't know, just zone out and relax. Also, let's see, what else for burnout? Oh, burnout. Another thing is if you can feel like you're doing making progress and feel like you're doing a decent job at what you're doing, that is a big deal for burnout. Because I feel oftentimes burnout happens because you feel like you're not doing good enough and you're tired. So if there's a way that you can verbally process it with a friend or see the positives in what you're doing, that's really helpful for burnout.
Yeah, you're going to have to do things that you enjoy doing, whether that's traveling for you, maybe that's taking a day off from work from you. What I like to do, especially on the weekends, I like to go by and visit my sister's 2 kids. He has 2 kids. One of them's, they're like 8 and 9 years old. And whenever I come by, they're always, super happy to see me. Uncle Jeff is here. Uncle Jeff is here. And, I like to go take them out to go get pizza and ice cream, or take them out to the park or for a walk on the beach or something. So that way you can mix it up. You kind of got to remember what it is that you're working for, and what some of your long-term goals are. You don't want to be like a robot and just work 24 hours a day. So you got to be able to kind of take a break and be able to do things that you enjoy doing, whether that's playing the video games, maybe that's going out to dinner with your family, whatever it is, just do something to kind of mix it up. If you like traveling, like I said, I just like to be able to spend time with my family and go by and hang out with them. And the other day, my nephew, he's a big Dragon Ball Z fan. So I got him this whole complete Dragon Ball Z series from season 1 through 9. And so he's walking around the whole house with this stuff, and he's got it under his shirt. He's carrying it through the house like this, and he's going, my precious, don't touch it. Stay away from my Dragon Ball Z set, and he was just freaking out. So you got to do things to help other people and kind of remember what it is, why you do what you're doing. Is it just for you, or you want other people to have a good life too, Can't just work 24 hours a day. Hey, I want to give a shout out real quick to Laura. Laura is in the chat. And I want to give a shout out to my buddy Kevin Vasquez Reyes is here. He says checkmate. And I wanted to say hey to Eblis, says, hey, appreciate this interview. Another question, where do you see yourself hiring or outsource in order to scale your business, or do you think you can handle it? Well, you talked earlier about having a prep center. So go ahead. What is your long-term goals, maybe 3, 4, or 5 years from now with your resale business? Are you going to try to scale your business, or maybe you hire somebody, or what are you thinking?
Right now, this goal isn't a 3, 4, or 5 year goal, but in the next several months, I'm wanting to transition just about all my inventory to be online to the prep center. I don't list it. And because of that, I'm not per se hiring an employee, but I'm using a prep center and they're listing the items for me. So that's where I'm wanting to head. And it's hard because there's estate sales, there's thrift stores in my area, like thrifting and estate sales and all that stuff, really good opportunity. There's a lot of really good stuff out there, but personally, I don't like listing very much. And if I can not list and buy things from home and buy things that will sell within a month or 2, I'm going to do that. So basically I'm trying to be more of a specific store instead of an everything store, and having to switch mindsets from listing a printer to listing shoes to listing these 5 books over here to listing this Walmart clearance vacuum cleaner that I found. That gets tiring for me. So I'm trying to be more specific. I'm trying to use the prep center for a majority.
All right. Yeah, Kevin, I do blink sometimes. Hollywood Reseller says, when you say use a prep center, tell us a little bit more about that, because when you talk about your business model, how easy is it for you to find items where you're going to make at least $10 profit on this item, plus has a high sales rank, plus you're paying your eBay fees, your pick and pack fees, and all that stuff, plus you still pay the fee to the software that you use, and then I'm sure you have to pay a fee to the prep center as well. So talk a little bit about your strategy of maybe doing online arbitrage, and then being able to send it into Amazon FBA's warehouse and to do the whole prep center thing. So talk to us a little bit about
that. So this prep center, basically it's $1.60 per item. So that's on the high end for prep centers. So this prep center, it's called Little Owl. Good prep center so far. I've liked it. So basically the strategy for me is a lot of people use tactical arbitrage to find Amazon leads, and it's a good software, but kind of the approach that I take is I've spent a lot of time thrifting. I spent a lot of time at estate sales. I've done a lot of retail arbitrage. So what I've done and have continued to do is I have a big database of items that I've sold in the past that are let's say 50 plus. And when I sell an item from like an estate sale, like if I found like a TI-84 calculator or something and it sold for like $70, I see if I can find it on eBay or on a site like that. And like I kind of take it from there. And like there's like once you find something like that, you can continue like looking at different things that are similar to that. And like the ideas kind of just like build upon each other, especially if you have it all like written down in front of you. You can be like, oh, what's similar to a TI-84 calculator? What's similar to this VCR? What's similar to like whatever it is?
Yeah.
Or this book. Right. If you did books, you can try and find them on eBay as well.
So you don't have the items sent to your house so you can at least verify it to see what condition they're in. You just have them sent directly to the prep center. And how does the prep center know those items are your products and they don't mix them up with somebody else's?
Yeah, you put your name in the address, and so they look at the package and they're like, okay, this is from Seth.
Okay, so that way you keep a lot of inventory physically out of your house, and then you send it to the prep center. I'm assuming that they go ahead and put it in the poly bags and do whatever they need to do to it, and then they ship it off to Amazon's fulfillment center after that?
Right.
Okay, and do you think the prep center like slows you down? Like, do you think that it like, because you said you had to pay them $1.60 per item you send in. So do you think that cuts into your profit margin, or does that speed things up for you because you don't have to spend your time prepping the items and you can focus more of your energy on sourcing?
Yeah, I mean, of course it slows me down financially, but at the same time, it really does speed me up too, because like, it would be great to not pay $1.60 an item, of course. But if I like I'm not very good at listing. I don't like listing. I feel like I end up getting distracted and it takes me much longer. For a while I had a contractor coming in and helping me with listing, but like I was probably paying them more than $1.60 per item when it came down to it. Because some of these items do take a little bit longer to prep and do everything correctly. So yeah, I mean, it helps me get really good at sourcing and like be able to have like lots of items to buy.
Yeah, so the prep center, not only do they prep the items for you to send them into Amazon FBA, but they also scan them in for you and then have them listed on the Amazon platform for you as well?
Right.
Okay, cool. We have a question from Kevin. He says, hey, what is your number one product? He says, you sell shoes, toys, and he says, what is your best platform? So we already talked about that. The platform he sells the most on is Amazon. And I think he mentioned earlier in the video that you did $20,000 in a month in sales and gross sales just on Amazon alone. So what type of niche do you try to stick to? Do you just sell anything and everything? What are some hot selling items for you that you sell on Amazon? I'm not asking you to give us the SKU number. We're just talking about just a niche.
I'm just shaking my head because it's so hard for me to not rabbit trail off into every little thing that's profitable. It's so hard to stay focused. But recently what I've been sticking to is probably my two, maybe three biggest categories are office supplies, shoes, and electronics. So I mostly try and stick to those.
All right, now
shoes.
All right, Checkmate Flips, man. Before we let you go, you got to give us your top 3 tips or piece of advice to help somebody with their reselling business. If they're not doing $20,000 a month in sales and they want to increase their sales, what would be your top 3 tips or piece of advice that you would give them, or suggestions of things that you recommend?
Yeah, so one thing that's helped me out a ton is I feel like people don't talk about this too much, but I'm going to move over because this sunlight is like really light.
I feel the same way. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Yeah, so basically one thing that helps me is we can get stressed about like how much in sales we're doing, like whether eBay or Amazon is slow or like you have a great day. You can't really control your sales, but you can control like what you list. And one thing that's really helped me like progress is specifically being like, okay, this week I am trying to list like 2,000 in potential profit. Or this week I'm trying to list 700 in potential profit. And I found like over the last several months, like if I'm trying to make like 4K in a month or something, I kind of need to list like in the ballpark of like 8K of potential profit, because like some things don't sell quite as fast as you think they're going to sell. Like some things do go wrong. But like overall, like if you can increase your listing goal, like your listing and sourcing goal, you're going to have more sales and you're going to have more profit. And that's the thing that you and I can control. I think that's the biggest.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. If you can focus more on things that you can have direct control over instead of saying, like to say, I'm not making as much money in sales. That's like saying it's raining or snowing outside when you can't control the weather. You know, focus on things you can control. I don't know another one of your videos you talked about telling people just to get started, but do you have any other tips or tricks or advice to kind of help people grow and scale their business? Because I know you made a video just talking about some advice to help people scale their business, because it's not something that just happens instantaneously overnight, right?
Right. So like on Amazon, for example, I was starting with the listing goal of like, let's list another 200 profit a week. Like I just went out to garage sales like on the weekends and I'm like, let's just list another 200 a week. And like eBay, my listing goal at that point was like, it was like $600 of profit every single week. And so like you can keep building that. So as far as like an actionable tip, like you kind of just have to try the next step and like keep doing the next step and like being okay with not being the best at everything. Like learning is a process, you know, like we both know that. Like we've learned a lot of things in our lives, I'm sure. And like we've been mediocre at things for a while until we get better at them.
Yeah, guys, like we were talking about earlier in the video, it's like, think about when you were a kid and you were trying to learn how to ride a bicycle and you had training wheels on your bicycle, and then slowly they took the training wheels off. And then you were riding your bicycle and you fell down and you skinned your knees and you skinned your elbows. And it happened over and over and over again till after a while you're like, okay, now we can take the training wheels off. Maybe I can go, 5 yards, 10 yards without having to use the training wheels. So just slowly make progress. It's not going to happen instantaneously. I mean, I watch other content creators right now. This one guy that I've been watching a lot, Urban Picker, and I watch his videos and he talks about how he makes, $300,000 a year in reselling. And I'm not nowhere close to that number, but he's been doing it consistently over 30 years. So it's going to take time. If you work hard at a job and you do something for 8 or 10 hours a day and you do that consistently for 30 years, over a period of time, it's going to add up. So you're not going to wake up and say, okay, I've been doing this for 6 months. Why am I not making $300,000 a year in reselling? Like, it's going to happen gradually. So we have a question from Ebliss that says, hey, awesome interview. Hope to be in touch. One last important question is that sweater, the one that you're wearing, $200 bill.
It's a tundra. So it's a Kuji style tundra sweater. So it's still a sweater that I like. Tundra sweaters. I like Kuji sweaters. I plan to sell it when I'm going to just sell it back on eBay when I want another one. So that's
okay.
I buy them, try to get it a good deal and then resell it when I want another one.
Man, this crazy life as a reseller. It's like, even when you buy something, you always have this mindset of, reselling things. Man, I wanted to go buy a PS4 for the kids for Christmas the other day, and a brand new one cost $400, right? So I bought a PS4 Pro from this guy the other day off of OfferUp. I gave him $100, right? It came with the PS4, the controller, all the power cords and everything. So I gave the guy $100. I get home and plug it in. The PS4 didn't work, and it didn't work. So guess what? So I go online, I scan it, look it up on eBay, and even though it's broken and sells for parts, I turn around and sold it the next week for $200 on eBay, as is for broken for parts. So even when you lose, you win, guys. So it's like, that's the cool thing about being a reseller. It's like, even when you screw up and you make mistakes and you're like, I bought this junk PS4 that doesn't work for parts, you can still turn a negative into a positive. So, hey, man, tell everybody a little bit about where they can find you at on YouTube and Instagram. I have your links listed down below, but let them know where they can go by and follow you at, all right?
Appreciate it. So my username on all the platforms is Checkmate Flips. I'm on YouTube. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I do a lot of short educational videos for people. Please send me a message if you're curious about something. I love talking to you guys. Really just trying to help people and just networking with people has been super helpful for me. And like, I feel like I've been helping people like as much as I can. So come hang out. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
Yep, I have all the links to our guests are listed down below. I'm going to be off from YouTube tomorrow on Sunday, but I have a brand new guest coming next week, and he primarily resells shoes, and he went from $0 and he went and bought a Tesla reselling shoes. So that's something you guys are interested in, and you're like, wow, that sounds awesome. I would love to know more about reselling shoes and how I could go out and buy me a Tesla. You don't want to miss the video. Till then, I'll have a brand new set of guests for you guys next week. But go follow our guests. All the links are down below. He just started a couple months ago, and he's already at like 270 subscribers. So I like to see you hit 300 and then eventually hit 1,000. So follow our guests. All the links are down below. I want to give a quick shout out real quick to BK from the Rockies. Laura is here. I wanted to give a shout out to my buddy Blood, Sweat, and Cell Leroy. Bliss Reseller Solutions. Kevin Vasquez Reyes. Hollywood Reseller, and I wanted to give a shout out to Zach was here, Utah Bought and Gone, and Don, HL Flippers, and the Fi Resellers. So I know today's a weekend. I know you guys don't have to be here, and I don't know if I tell you guys in every video, but I appreciate all you guys in the chat for coming in and hanging out. Oh, and I want to give a shout out to American Arbitrage. So you guys have a great weekend. Till then, I'll catch you next week, and be sure to follow our guys, Checkmate Flips. I'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend, guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.